Good afternoon, everyone. Sage here. Welcome to the Executive Corner Expert Talks by 𝐊𝐿𝐴 TV. Today's guest is Mr. Simon Ingleson, CEO and founder of Rosterelf. Do you manage a team of casuals and have to prepare the roster? What seems like a straightforward task can get quite complicated when considering staff, unavailability and skill sets. And today's guest may be able to offer some support with a new cloud software innovation. Rostering becomes magically simple and efficient, just like the elves dropped in to help you do it. So in today's show, we have Mr. Simon Ingleson, CEO and founder of Rosterelf. Welcome, Simon.
Thanks, Sage. Thanks very much for having me.
Brilliant. Well, glad you could make some time for us. With your proven extensive experience in the technology and media sectors, working at some of Australia's largest media agencies, we're definitely keen to share your insights today.
Thank you so much.
Yes, let's not hesitate any longer. Would you begin with highlighting the key specs of your staff rostering software that make it stand out in the market, please?
Yeah, sure. So obviously there's a lot of software out there and there's a lot of business tools, and at Rosterelf we've really taken a very different approach. You mentioned I used to work in the corporate world, and since leaving the corporate world I've run a number of small businesses and often find that technology, they sound great and it sounds like it's something that's going to help your business, and often it can add additional complications. So Rosterelf, we've really taken the approach of understanding small business, understanding what their pain points are, and really the goal with Rosterelf is to fulfill a gap and a need and basically do it really efficiently. So in terms of functionality, Rosterelf covers really 4 core elements for our clients. So the first one is staff availability. So casualised workforce, it's getting bigger and bigger, and managing the availability of employees is a nightmare, and we handle that as well as leave requests. Second one is the actual roster itself, so building it in a smart and efficient way, communicating it effectively to employees and managing any changes and updates, and that's all done using our cloud and app software. And part of that is also live budgeting. So as you know, margins in small businesses can be really tough, so managing the labour costs is vital. The third part to manage is digital time and attendance, so that's clocking in and clocking out. So that's a compliance piece and also a payroll record keeping tool. And lastly, we handle, which is probably the most hated job in business, payroll. So Australia has an exceptionally complex, really fair for employees, but complex award system. Rosterelf handles all the award interpretation. So businesses just literally need to approve the hours, leave it to Rosterelf, and it sends it straight to payroll. But, really in a nutshell, outside of functionality, what we do understand and the approach we've taken to Rosterelf is, look, the product needs to be really simple to use. We look at cloud applications. I'm a massive fan of Xero and their approach to SaaS, which is, look, keep it really simple, let users get in, do what they need to do and get out. And the second one is the customer focus. So Rosterelf's one of these tools that, look, once the setup's done, customers, we rarely hear from them. So, but that setup process for business owners, when they're so time poor, we put a lot of resources and time into making sure that setup process is really seamless for them.
Well, sounds like you've definitely ticked all the boxes there, and today's businesses love the sound of saving time and cutting back costs. So Rosterelf is on the mission to help businesses achieve their dream goals. Which are your target industries at the moment?
Yeah, well, it's a funny question, Sage. It started off as very much a hospitality play, to be honest. So, before I started Rosterelf, I had a restaurant myself, and that's where the version 1 of Rosterelf came from. But what we've discovered over the last few years is that the number of industries is pretty amazing that need this type of tool. You think of things like aged care, which is a massive growth with obviously an ageing population, entertainment industries, retail, logistics. So hospitality now is only about 25 to 30% of our customer base, and we've got a really broad range of other industries that make up the mix.
Yes, that's fantastic to hear that so many sectors are growing even despite the conditions we're working in. And I think one of the hardest things for people who manage rosters are those late pullouts and the people that can't make the shift due to sickness or something else has come up. So having a functionality of access to Rosterelf in the palm of your hand would make that easier, I suppose. What are the exciting features that Rosterelf's mobile application offers?
Yeah, it's a good question, Sage. Like, the reality is nowadays consumers expect everything in their pocket. So we focused a lot on our mobile applications, and really the biggest user base of the software is not actually the business owners, it's the employees. So if the employees are engaged in a way that is useful for them, it tends to flow through with benefits for the whole organisation. So we've really focused on our iOS and Android apps that are really employee friendly. So employees can do everything that they need to do. They can apply for leave, their availability, they can see when they're working, request shift swaps, they can even clock in and clock out using GPS technology via the smartphone. So we've made it really, really employee friendly. In addition, business owners, managers, you can update your roster, you can communicate with your staff, everything you need to do from your smartphone. And I only see that trend increasing. It's not very often you get to sit in front of a computer and do these sort of tasks when you're running a small business. So, our mobile applications are really, really important to the business.
That's fantastic to hear. And having all your shifts maintained in this type of system is great for record keeping as well further down the track for any taxation purposes or accounting purposes too. So it can be really beneficial. If you were to highlight the top 5 benefits of using the roster management tool, what would they be for us quickly today?
Yeah, like talking to the thousands of customers we've got, the benefits are pretty clear. So the first one is time. Business owners have no time. I think your segment before was talking about COVID. That's even more challenging at the moment. So as much time as possible, and it's quite amazing how all those small tasks they were doing manually, Rosterelf removes all that and makes it a lot more efficient. The second one is saving money. So look, labour costs are often one of the biggest costs for a lot of customers, and we've got a live budgeting tool. So that means that before they actually publish a roster, they know the costs, they can adjust for seasonal trends, and they can make sure they're planning the use of their labour resources effectively. The third one is compliance. I mentioned awards in Australia, which has its pluses and minuses. It can be very, very challenging for business owners to find the time and make sure they're compliant. We handle all that. So the award interpretation tool is very, very powerful. Fourthly, employees. Employees love the software. They know what's going on. They know when they're working. They can update their own availability. They can communicate with their manager. So from an employee morale point of view, it's really, really, really powerful. And the last one is the overall business. So there's a lot going on. For business owners, we were talking about the smartphone applications. Business owners can log in, have a look at how their business is tracking, how their labour trends are tracking, and actually just plan, for what's coming up in the business, which is, especially important at the moment with restrictions and bits and pieces coming in around the country.
Great. Well, it sounds like it's easy to use and has all the functionality that you'd expect of a good rostering app. So while digitisation is definitely here to stay, it is not free of glitches, for instance, ensuring data security and privacy. How does Rosterelf address these challenges?
Yeah, SaaS software's got a lot better in the last decade, and really now you're seeing enterprise level customers embracing SaaS because the level of security is now world class. So our approach to security is a couple of things. So one, we have a dedicated resource his whole focus is on data security and looking at vulnerabilities and making sure curve. So we're always around the world and how we can implement them ahead of time. And that's really the goal with security is that, yes, whilst, every software on the planet, has vulnerabilities, it's about being ahead of the curve and implementing best practice. So that is a clear focus for us. So whilst improving the product, we're making sure simultaneously that, our data security and our privacy is world class.
Fantastic to hear it, and thanks for making time to share your insights today. But we have to start wrapping it up there. Was there any final comments you'd like to share with our proactive investor audience here at 𝐊𝐿𝐼𝐴?
We had some exciting news at Rosterelf that's had picked up a fair bit of media. So we've done an exclusive partnership with Clubs New South Wales. They're obviously one of the biggest hospitality employers in Australia with about 1,200 venues. So we're actually building a very exciting for Rosterelf, a clubs HR version of Rosterelf, which is going to be specific for the clubs industry. So keep your eye on that. We're rolling it out in the next few months, but a really exciting addition to the Rosterelf family.
Fantastic to hear it. Thank you again for joining us, Mr. Simon Ingleson, CEO and founder of Rosterelf. And viewers, if you've just joined us, we had a very interesting discussion about an innovative new cloud software helping rostering of casuals. And the full interview will be available via the YouTube channel, 𝐊𝐼𝐴 Media. Keep watching 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV for more expert talks and live market reviews. I'll be back soon with the last trade. And as we say, stay apprised and invest wise with 𝐊𝐼𝐴.